I'm very excited about this next topic, this next speech. I don't know exactly what it's about, but the title is very, very interesting, and it's by a very close friend of the Blockdown ecosystem. The founder of NFT3, Dewdney, put your hands together for our good friend.
Are we on? Great. I always just wanted to do this. I've never done this, so I'm just going to do a catwalk right now. Okay, now we're good. Just to loosen up. I think everybody here deserves to give themselves a pat on the back. This is a hard time to be in crypto, arguably. It's a tough time. But I've been in crypto and blockchain and Bitcoin for a very long time now as an enthusiast since late 2011. And I've seen it go all the way from there was no real name for the technology. We didn't know what Bitcoin should be called beyond just Bitcoin. So there were murmurs of blockchain as a concept in 2012. And then eventually blockchain kind of became this subsuming umbrella to discuss the technology associated with crypto, maybe in general. One thing that I want to stress today is that there's a very important problem at the heart of the internet, a basic problem, which is a problem of reference. When we're referencing entities or individuals, presumably on the internet, how are we referencing them? Now, Web 2 solved this problem in a very good way, arguably, right? So we have identifiers, unique identifiers that sit via platforms. So whether you're on Facebook or whether you're part of, whatever shopping platform that you're on, you're issued a unique identifier. And that helps you coordinate the data that's associated with you. And of course, they then anonymize this data into metadata, and that is indeed one of the two basic major business models of the internet today, which is e-commerce. And what's the other one? Does anyone know the other one? Advertising. So realness really matters here, because if anything a human can do, a bot can do, then we now have sort of a basic problem. Notwithstanding all the basic problems that we have with Web 2 regarding, if you've seen the documentary Social Dilemma, for example, where we're whipping people up to get, things more exciting, to get more clicks. So what's real and why it matters? Do androids dream of the internet? Philip K. Dick, I'm paraphrasing him. Obviously, if you know the movie Blade Runner, it was originally titled, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? We've got a bigger this problem of bot spoofing, this problem of anything a human can do, a bot can do, is only getting worse. It's only getting worse. It's actually, its acceleration is accelerating with the advent of GPT-5 now. And so we have a real issue in our hands. Because if we don't know what we're referencing, if we don't know that it's a human, then how can we design efficient business models, efficient technologies around that? And indeed, there's a massive amount of bloat on the internet today in terms of advertising spending and ad tech. If anybody wants to guess, it's between 40 and 60% of traffic on the internet is made up. It's hocus pocus. It's not real. This is just a little intro of me. I kind of talked about myself already. Wacky guy. We did not expect ChatGPT to necessarily be where it is today. But, here we are. We also didn't expect things like NFTs to be so popular. We didn't necessarily expect in 2011, 2012, and 2013, when it really started getting into it, that I'd somehow be in Portugal talking about this shit. I mean, it's really amazing. It's really cool. So the future takes you in places that, you don't imagine, but you want to be positioned well for the future. And while we can't imagine what the future is going to bring us, we can position ourselves well via certain technologies. One, which I'm a very big proponent of, which is called decentralized identifiers. Now, decentralized identifiers and we'll get to some of these points. Actually, I'm going to back up. I'm going to go forward. Let's do this. Decentralized identifiers and VCs are coming to the rescue. So I'll just give you a little 20-second recap on how I even got onto the stage, which was I was working through ideas about this, about how we're referencing things on the internet and how we could maybe have a universal way to reference things. So I had this really naive idea that NFTs are unique and so are people. But it turns out it was a very naive idea. Our chief advisor, Evan McMullen, who works on a project called Disco XYZ, which is a great project, said to me, that's a really stupid idea because identity is very mutable, it changes, and NFTs are immutable. So what do you think? Have you ever heard of decentralized identifiers? I said, no, never heard of it. Well, it's this really, really cool way that you can interoperate between both Web 2, Web 3 contexts, off-chain contexts, real-life contexts. And so let's talk a little bit about this. And I realized how important this technology was. And I believe that this technology, decentralized identifiers, interoperating with blockchain and verifiable credential attestations, is indeed maybe as big as blockchain itself in terms of a technological advancement or innovation or whatever you call it. Now there are some problems that we have right now is we have no interoperable spec between different projects and groups working with decentralized identifiers, but I think that we will get to that eventually. And what a decentralized identifier is, it's essentially it's a URI, so it exists at the most primitive level of the internet, like a website or a URL or something like that. It exists at that primitive level, and it allows you to map multiple data points that can exist either as wallet addresses, as verifiable credential attestations, or even associating, say, NFTs. What this ultimately can allow is a way for us to have a real relationship between, for example, brands that want to issue verifiable credential attestations. It can have gamified contexts where we can start to interoperate between different games because now we're mapping data from one game to the other. And Animoca Ventures, our lead investor, and I'm glad Robbie was here. They really love that aspect of it. Yeah, it's just super cool. Now, going back to the realness thing, how could you create something so real that it would be really hard for a bot to spoof it? Similar to how a blockchain works and how proofs work, we build up this really unassailable, inviolable, really hard to fake situation with the blockchain, right, itself, all these proofs stacked on top of each other. Similarly, what you can do with a decentralized identity or decentralized identifier, and this is our project, our consumer product, isme.is, which has 260,000 verified users at this point. Last year, when I gave a similar version of this talk, we had this many. That's 0, not 3, just saying. But maybe we had 3. And the beautiful thing about this is that you can start to build this unassailable aspect of identity, or that this thing is real, right? Because what we do with ISME is we associate multiple wallets. We have Twitter linkages. We have a proof of liveness linkage coming down the road pretty soon. We have some partnerships in the works that we're excited about. And the idea is that over time, you can start to accrue all these data points, mapping back to your decentralized identifier. And as a consumer, it's like, well, why the hell did I want to do that? I had, first of all, what's that going to get me? Similar to, say, if you said to yourself in, 2001, and I'm a little bit older, so I actually lived 2001 as an adult. You say to yourself, why would I need a website? Why would I need a personal website? Or why? Similar idea, right? So you need a decentralized identifier, and hopefully this becomes a thing that many of us think it does. I mean, at the end of at last count, there's $100 million in VC investment going toward projects that have decentralized identifiers. We captured about 10% of that investment. But the reason why is you can start to do cool things. You can start to do cool things like potentially monetize yourself in a decentralized social aspect or a Web3 social aspect. So right now, like if I have 20,000 Instagram followers, how much money do I get coming to me or anything like that? The technical architecture is not set up for that. I get nothing. Maybe I should get something. Maybe there's information about me that I can leverage that's actually quite specific, quite granular. Maybe Harvard Medical School gives me a VC attestation that says I have a degree. And now, maybe that's a really interesting indicator for a blockchain-based, blockchain-based credit facility, right? And they say, well, they have a fucking Harvard medical degree. I see that VC attestation is coming straight from Harvard. Okay, yeah, they signed. Okay, well, this is a good idea. So it allows you to leverage yourself. But getting back to the very start of this talk, it solves an extremely key and basic problem that will only get worse, which is realness. How do we measure realness? And as you go on and you start mapping more and more things to your decentralized identifier, you're going to build up realness, and then maybe you're part of a broader community or an ecosystem that includes that. And now you can start to do things like form data trusts or data lakes. And now that all that metadata that was being sold on your behalf in this Faustian bargain that we made in Web 2 is now sort of starting to more directly come to you, more directly flow to you. And that's really the grand vision here. So not only is it potentially a more equitable way and a more monetizable way to get business dynamics and efficiencies changed within the Web3 context, but it's also a way to solve potentially a basic computer science problem. And let me just go back here. So again, I don't know how much time I have, but I think I only have a few minutes, but it's true. I mean, idealism does not equal progress. So we need to figure out some interesting things. Like we have a mission and a challenge and a problem as a company to try to get people, brands essentially. And right now we're working on a deal with a privacy browser that I'm not going to name, but try to convince them how important this is and try to get them on board and get all their users initialized with decentralized identifiers. Why would they do that? What point? What would the point be? Well, the point is that we can potentially give their usership a measure of realness. This is why realness is valuable. And why do they want realness? Well, they want realness because ad fraud is costing just US advertisers, by the way, $120 billion a year. That's a conservative estimate. That's a lot of money, okay? So that's how we're hopefully going to grow much, much larger after we've built we're post-product, but this is how we scale. One of the ways. We talked about all this. Yeah, let's go. Okay, some ideas, implications and use cases of decentralized identifiers. DeFi credit score, potentially. I talked about off-chain and on-chain attestations. Harvard degree, but also say you ate 1,000 Subway sandwiches. And they could give you a VC attestation for that. It can be as serious or as contrived as you like. Travelable KYC, already happening more in the wild. There's already some projects that are utilizing this idea that you can have a KYC provisioning that is given as a VC attestation that is then held in your mapped to your decentralized identifier, and then you can just go through different processes. You don't have to do KYC every fucking time. Excuse my French. The coolest thing, I think, which I really want to see this one day, is being able to monetize your genome, right? Upload your genome in a very secure way, of course, and have researchers access it for a fee. That's a business model that exists, and it's making a shit ton of money right now. 23andMe, over half of their revenue, probably more, is based on them selling your genomic data to pharmaceutical companies on the back end. So you're paying them for the privilege of them selling your data for more money. Just saying, you know. I hope that doesn't turn you. I think it's pretty fucking cool. Like, it's a really cool service. Like, I'm gonna do it myself and still pay for it, but I'm just saying. And yeah, let's end it up here. This could, you know, it represents an incremental step toward basic species progress in the sense that we need to be able to have technical infrastructure that allows us to communicate in better ways than Web 2 has given us. And I think that, you know, I'm not poo-pooing Web 2. Like, if somebody said to me 20 years ago, you could have a little thing in your pocket and you could have access to all knowledge all the time, but you just have to, like, sign up and we'll track you a little bit, I'd be like, fuck yeah, I'd be there in a second. Like, I want to know everything at all times. Yeah, I do. But it's time to evolve. It's really time to evolve. We've seen the symptoms of Web 2 in our culture. We know that it's not the most efficient way for us to design our internet, and it's time to evolve. And decentralized identifiers are part of that evolution. And thank you very much.